Hello everybody, and here we are for another roll reveal. This one's for 1949D Lincoln Cent roll. It's a tubed roll. Old original roll of Lincoln's dumped into a tube I don't know how many years ago. The tube it's in, the company went out of business in 1976, so that tells you it's been quite a while. Waiting for somebody else to show up and say hi. I want at least one person watching before I get started on this. There's one person. Hello, Eric. Okay, so this right here is the roll we're going to do today. It's 1949D roll. It's an old one. It was marked 1995 when it was put together. I don't know how long ago that was, but it was quite a while ago because these are nowhere close to 1995 anymore. And so I will, hello, Mr. Crowell. I'll dump these coins out onto my pad here and get started. Get started. Y'all ready to rumble? Here we go. And my first person out today is going to be Malcolm. Malcolm's going to get his first before anyone else. Let me zoom my scope down to the right place and oops, I'm in. Let's see. That'll help. There we go. Looks much nicer. Let me get a little bit tighter on it. And on this, especially 1949D, I'll be looking for repunch mint marks especially. There's a number of them known for 1949D, so we'll see what we can find. But we're also watching everything else that you would normally watch for double dies and RPMs. Who knows what we might see. Hello, Mr. Pierce. Joe, I'll check in on that. Yeah, am I okay? I'm never early. Well, I am today. I actually planned on getting started around 10 o'clock, and then I got delayed one way and then another, and eventually I just quit paying attention to the delays and just decided to go online and take care of this. So here we are. All right, that's coin number one. I got nothing on coin number one. Move my keyboard out of the way there. All right. Coin number one. Now coin number two for Stanley. Stanley pops in with... yeah, it looks like another normal 49D here. Little die crack running across the head there. I don't see anything else here on the obverse. The reverse side on these, we're just looking for the typical things that you'd find on a double die. 1949D is not well known for double dies, but we're going to check it anyway. John Pierce. Okay. Turn John blue. I'll turn John blue. John needs to register with us in order to earn that blue. Just send me an email. coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. It's coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. Send me your YouTube username, your real name, which is probably the same, and the email to which I would send an invoice should you purchase anything, and I will get that information in our system, get you registered right away, and you'll be ready to go. Oh, did you send him? That's fine. I enjoy having people here regardless of whether they intend on purchasing anything, but if he wants to register with us to get registered to actually bid or purchase spots in these rolls or bid on the auctions, he'll have to be registered ahead of time. Let's see. That's kind of a re-implementation of an old rule I instated a long time ago. I said I wouldn't accept bids unless a person was registered. Then I started accepting immediate registers, and that usually brought the entire experience to a screeching halt while I waited for someone to register. I can't do that. That's not fair to my current bidders. So I can no longer stop in the middle of a show and wait for someone to register. They'll have to register before the show. So get registered now, and should you decide to bid in on anything or buy anything later on, you'll already be registered and ready to go. Real quick email, coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. I keep running across the same die over and over again. This is the same die as the coin previous to it. You can tell when you're running across the same die over and over again because you get the same markers. Mint marks in the same spot. You got the same die scratches in the same spot. Here's one for Mr. Fletcher. I saw Mr. Fletcher come in just a few minutes ago. Hello, Mr. Fletcher. Good day, sir. Oh, we have a split lower serif RPM here. It's not a very big one, but there is a split in that lower serif. If you look right there, you can see where it's split. Now, split lower serif RPM here for Mr. Fletcher. Oh, look at that. It's a peace sign. It's upside down. Look. It's a peace sign. Actually, it's a Mercedes symbol, but we're going to call it a peace sign. That's pretty cool. And often the little marks and splotches and stuff on coins don't. Oh, and there's an excellent. Maybe this is a treasure map. I'm going to go look for treasure. There's an X right on his cheek. No, folks. These things are not placed here on purpose. They just happen to turn out that way. Pareidolia takes care of the rest. That indeed is a softly struck coin there. Well, no, it's not softly struck. It's just got a lot of issues from having been clashed and being a later dice date coin. So that's coin number 5 from Mr. Fletcher. I'm going to put that one off to the side here because it is an RPM and a Mercedes coin. Next for Sureg. Let's see. What do I come up with here? It looks like I have nothing special in the date mint mark area. I do have a smaller Mercedes symbol right here. It's not quite as obvious as the last. This one might actually be a peace sign. If we're going to have to deal with a few splotches, may as well give them names. Because they're not going anywhere. Right? They're not going to go away. Not even if we call them names. Number 7 now for Sissy. See what Sissy gets out of coin number 7. Ooh, nice RPM. It's got a nice split lower serif, a split in the upper serif, it appears. And it's got some strange, I guess that's die wear coming off the right side of the D. But you can see the split in the serif. It's pretty clear. And that one will go to Sissy. See what kind of markers we have here on the obverse to see if there's anything we can attribute this to. So we've got a couple of swaying little marks that appears out in front of the bow tie. It looks like a couple of squatchy swirl things. I'm feeling fine, Tim. Thank you very much. Yesterday I was going to do broadcasting, but I came down with a little case of the yawns. Still got it to some effect today, but yesterday, man, I was wasted. I had to take a long nap. By the time I got up from my nap, I was feeling kind of woozy and didn't feel like getting online. So I didn't get back on the computer at all. I have shipped almost all of the outgoing packages for this week. Or for this past week, anyway. UMC. What is UMC, Dennis? Unidentified marked coin. I get it. I see it. Gotcha. Erwin Avanzado. I can help you. Send an email, please. This is a live broadcast. We're not talking about buying and selling coins right now. If you send me an email, this is a die gouge here. This is not an RPM, unfortunately. I wish it were. But you can see the gouge runs all the way through the tip of the vest. Send me an email. Give me a complete inventory of what you have and photographs if possible. My email address is cd@coppercoins.com. You see that doubling on the front of the forehead? That's very common. You notice that they appear on a lot of coins of this era, especially 1952. It is not hub doubling. It is a part of the reduction process that I am not yet privy to completely understand. However, it is my broad understanding that this has to do with the little needle on the feeler feeling the galvano bounces, and it causes a duplication of sorts in the outline of the forehead. You can see it there too, just not quite as strong. Now, that's not my story I'm making up. This I read from either Ken Potter or John Wexler at one point in time, but it's called reduction lathe doubling. Just another one of the relatively minor and relatively common forms of machine doubling is the actual doubling caused on a die by a machining process prior to the working die stage. It's all the same. Hello, Bo. That's coin number 9. Here's coin number 10 from Mark. Yeah, I know you're going to notice that there's very little color over here. Well, the very little color over here, along with that scar I got on my finger from working on my lawnmower, is mostly Sun's color. The reason when I throw the color back in there, that little card turns yellow, and that doesn't look pretty either. So I figured having no color is better than having the wrong color. For some reason, I couldn't get a color adjustment to work, so I just took the color out of it. Nothing wrong with that, right? Okay, this one doesn't appear to have anything on it either. I'll move on to the reverse and see what we can see there. Starting to give up on the reverses here because, well, reverses aren't well known for double dies anyway this era, but man, these are kind of soft. How about number 11 now, Mr. Fletcher? And Mr. Fletcher comes up with, you know, that's an interesting silver streak running through the coin there. That is a impurity in the planchet. Very interesting. It's probably a line of zinc, because they still made these out of French bronze. In 1949, French bronze was a 95% mixture of copper with a loose 5% mixture of tin and zinc. And the plugs that they would put in to melt up to create the sheets were pre-measured, and they worked out most of the time. Sometimes those billets didn't get completely melted in or didn't get completely mixed in, and when they rolled them out into sheets, you could see pure little pieces of metal that could be tin or it could be zinc, because both are a silvery metal. I would probably guess tin more than zinc, because tin is a non-corrosive white metal and zinc is a highly corrosive grayish metal. And there's some small chance this could be an RPM to the northeast. It does have a very small split lower serif that we're not going to be able to count for this purpose. Just not enough there to count. See if we run into anything else here. Looking on the reverse now. I have, how many do I have? I've got 4 or 5. I think I've got 4 scheduled for today. I'm going to be doing these one right after the other. One right after the other. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to broadcast all of them kind of in a straight line here. This one will probably take a little bit longer than some of the others. Hey, there's another one of our RPMs that I got out for, gosh, who was it? Sissy, I believe. For some reason I didn't pull it out. Let me check Sissy's coin here real quick. See if this is the other one. It is. Okay, I'll pull it out. It's coin number 7. You are now in coin number 13. And this one's for Crispy. Interesting marks out to the east here that could actually be another mint mark. It's kind of sort of hard telling, but it's definitely nicely split serifs. And there is a gouge coming right off the bottom of the 9. You see that little gouge line? I will be able to use that for sure as a good marker for further examples of this particular die. Should I work or should I watch Chuck? I don't know. How about let's watch Chuck work and call it work? How about that? All right, this one's for Joe. And I'm not seeing anything particular here on this coin. But to answer everybody's question with regard to how I'm feeling, I'm doing far better today than I was yesterday. I actually got my medication in last night, so that tends to help a little bit when I actually take my medication. Well, hello, Papa Giorgio. Haven't seen you in a while. There's Carl. Good day, Carl. Let's see, coin number 15, Mr. Worley. And Mr. Worley gets another one. There we go. I don't know exactly which RPM this is, but I tell you, they don't seem to be all that uncommon in this particular roll, which is a good thing. Because, well, this might be one of only 20 rolls that ever had them. So, you never know, right? But it is coin number 15. Only one coin skipped after the last one till you get back to the next one. So we'll see if we can keep that kind of rate going, I guess. Another normal one here. Just landed in Memphis. Well, you're in the town where I grew up much of my later childhood. I moved to Memphis in February of 1977. I lived there until I graduated high school in June of '86. Moved away from there and never went back, except for reunions and to visit my father. I visited my mother there a few times, I guess, after I left. Early 90s. Still have a lot of friends there. Kind of a special place to me. It's sort of where I grew up. But that makes me all that much more angry that it's turned into what it has. A lot of crime and a lot of problems in Memphis. Let's see here. But it is one of my childhood homes. So I do what I can to get back there once in a while, visit with friends. And, just kind of take a tour and look around at some of the places I used to hang out when I was a kid. A lot of them are gone now. They've torn a lot of them down. One for Crispy. One of my big hangouts when I was a kid was the Raleigh Springs Mall out on Austin P. Highway near Yale. And I've seen... so when I went back there about 5 years ago or so, they were tearing it down. I got to watch the cranes running through the old J.C. Penney at the south end of the mall. Okay, I'll check for that die scratch when I run through that particular die again. I haven't seen it yet, but with 3 out so far and only a third of the roll gone through, I'm sure I'll end up running into another example. But the Raleigh Springs Mall was one of my favorite hangouts as a kid. Had a it wasn't Aladdin's Castle. I think it was called Sinbad's Castle or something like that. It was a video game and pinball place. What coin variety is pictured on your avatar? Yeah, the problem is the avatars for me are just a little larger than the head of a pin. So I can see a little bit of color, but I can't see a whole lot of detail. Okay, Ron, I appreciate it. Here's one for Sissy. Yeah, I got a few of these that have these scratches across the bottom underneath the D. These horizontal scratches under the D are common to a particular die in this roll. I've seen them a few times. Number 21. Coin number 21 goes to Yo Man. Yeah, Ron, I did not mean to make you feel like you were being chastised the other night. I was just trying to get through very clearly that we expect all payments to be paid through the invoices that we send, because it screws up my books otherwise. I didn't mean to anger you or embarrass you or anything else. A lot of people who are new to the channel come around. They don't know exactly how I deal with things until they learn. And, well, you've learned. So we're all good. I do plan on getting the I have 2 packages left to send from last week, and then I'm going to be getting on all the packages for this week. Problem is I can't really do much with the packages until after I do the proof pull, because, well, many of the people who will be getting packages will also be getting proof pull coins, and I have to wait and ship those with the remainder of the order. Those proof pull coins are not ones that are sent to Florida to be taken care of. They go directly out of here. 15D Buffalo nickel. You know, I almost thought Buffalo nickel, but I wasn't looking at it properly. I can see that there is a C with a mark to the lower left. I would have probably figured out that was a mint mark if I was given enough time to concentrate. Here's a roll end coin right here in the middle of the roll. So it goes to penny hoarder. And it doesn't appear to be anything. Carl, yes. I can get you in on that. I'll just send you a separate invoice for it. Did you get an invoice for, let's see, what was it, Tuesday? I guess you were here Tuesday just for a little while. You got one item, I think, if I remember correctly. And what I can do is I can just send you an additional invoice with just the penny pull on it. Ronald, it generally takes me between 6 days and a week to get mail out because I am working all by myself. I don't have anyone helping me. This company is completely me and me alone. So for me to get packages out usually takes 2 to 3 days at least. And that's when I get started on them. Sometimes it takes longer if I have problems like I had last week. My power went out twice on me, and I had a lightning strike that took out my printer. So it took me a while to get things situated. You want in too, Joe? There's another one of those smaller split lower serif RPMs. So I'll get this one in with the other one that I think it was Jim Fletcher's. This one's going to Deanne. Can you work with me? As in getting a job and coming here? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that yet. I don't know, I've had a big issue with being able to bring someone in to work with me because, well, I work from home. And having somebody else in my house is, well, it's kind of a daunting thought when I don't really know the person well. Kind of like to get to a point where I'm like brothers with a person before I'm going to let them know my address and come to my house. Man, I tell you what, I am not doing great with this roll today. Here's another one for Carl. Okay, I'll get Carl in, I'll get Joe in. Hey, there's another one of our RPMs. Okay, I'm looking for something on the forehead, right? Here's the forehead. There is a, oh, that's just a mark. And I'm seeing a little tiny die crack right on the eyebrow, right up above the eye. But nothing else really of any marked concern. RPM, repunched mint mark. Mint marks up until 1990 were added to the dies individually by hand. And sometimes when they would punch the mint mark punch would bounce and it would punch another mint mark into the coin. And this is, in some part, marked by the lower serifs of the additional mint mark not meeting up exactly with the lower serif of the initial punch. And what you end up with is a doubled lower serif. There's one, and there's another one. So there's two lower serifs with a split between them. So we call this a split lower serif. And that is a repunch mint mark, or an RPM. They are listable by the individual die that RPM is on, because not only do we have the attributes of the RPM, but we also have, let me get my my light back down a little bit so it's easier for us to look at this. There we go. But we also have the position that the D is punched. Exactly where it's punched in relationship to the date is another marker, because every one of them was placed into the dies by hand. And then we have other things, such as other scratches and things placed onto the die, which would be raised on the coin. This is a coin hit here that's not on the die. But something that is actually on the die. Let me see if I can find something here real quick. Yeah, we do have a really small die scratch. Let me flip it over on the reverse and see if I can find something good on the reverse for us to use as a definite die marker. I believe we do have something. Let me back this out a little bit more. Let me find us a good die marker here. Now, there may not be any really good ones. So a lot of this just comes from individual damage to the coin. You can tell because it's sunken into the coin. That won't be the issue with good die markers. The good die markers will be raised on the coin, because you're actually putting pits into the die, which raises up on the coin. I think there's a die marker right there. Nope. It's also not a die marker. Well, I guess I don't see any really good die markers here right off. I could spend the rest of the afternoon to hunt for them, but I'll show you die markers on a different die. But so this is a repunchment mark. We'll get that stuck on the stack with the others of its kind and move to the next coin. So Mr. Birchman, Mike gets well, it's not a repunchment mark. Die cracks, gouges, clash marks, other things like that. Things that come into the die and remain with the die and punch into subsequent coins. And you can compare two coins to come from the same die by comparing the markers on them. Markers will be different with every die, because every die, when it's used, is in kind of a unique position. Here's another one of our RPMs. Split lower serif. Got a big cavity out to the right of the RPM that could actually be part of another punch. That's not something I'm going to place the call on here. There's a marker for you. This little line right here, this little line of mine, I'm going to let it shine. But that right there is a die scratch coming down out of an N of in. Now next time we run into a coin from this die, we will know that we should be able to compare it by using that particular marker. There's a coin for Mr. Fletcher. And Mr. Fletcher will get, well, and immediately we're going to, nope, this is a different die. This is not the same die. I was looking at that cavity out there. This is actually a different repunchment mark. This one has a split upper serif, I believe. Yes, it does. You can see it split right there in the upper serif as I move my light. Definitely a different RPM there. That one's got a split in the upper serif. Okay. I'll take this one off to the side. This one goes to Mr. Fletcher. Well, Joe, the thing about it is that it depends on die state too, because indentations and die scratches and gouges can wear off as the die is used. So temporary die markers cannot be used as an assertion of a match or a non-match, because they have a tendency to disappear. That's why they call them temporary die markers. Any temporary die markers can go away. There is some chance that when this was an early die state, there was a die clash that you can't see now. But you can't say that any coin from this die is going to have a die clash, because, well, if a die clash happened really early in the die's life and you're 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 coins later, you may not have that scratch, but you could that clash mark, but you could still have the same die. Here's another one of the die we just found, upper split serif. So this one's going to be the same die as the previous coin we found. And this one's for Mr. Palmer. Now, coin number 33. Crispy. Crispy, well, he gets one of our other dies. That's the one with the split on the lower serif and the big cavity out to the right of the D. So now, should back up a little bit, get it a little bit easier to see here. Now if we go up to the N, we should see that curved die scratch. Well, I'm just lying right and left here. Perhaps it was worn out by the time it got to this coin. Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. Well, it is the same die. Die position. The position of the D mint mark would tell us that. And that I see no additional reverse markers. That kind of helps me determine they are the same. So that one's going on my die number 2 for the roll pile. Here's another one. There's another one of them right there. It still doesn't show that curve, so I'm going to take that out as a possible marker, because that might have just been a fluke. See if I can find any big die dots or anything that will show up as good use markers. Perhaps maybe we'll find something that sticks around long enough that we'll be able to use it as a determinable marker. Now, one thing that I do see is this right here looks like a die scratch, and then this right here looks like a die dot. So it looks like a semicolon. See that? Looks like a semicolon out from the Y. So next one we get, we'll see if that marker sustains from one to the next. We'll see. Here's a coin from Mark. And Mark does not get the same die. Does not appear to be a die variety. Move on to coin number 36 now. 36 with Deanne. Miss Deanne. And I get nothing on that one, unfortunately. Not. Hello, Coin Junkie. Oh, they're around, that's for sure. Here's coin number 37. Back to Mr. Byers. Or Mr. Birchman. I did that again. And this one has nothing that I can see. There's Mr. Birchman's coin. Now 38 for Joe. Number 38 for Joe. That is an RPM. I do believe we're looking at an RPM. Maybe not. Let's see. Let me open up the exposure a little bit. Yeah, no, I don't think so. See, I thought I was seeing a secondary inside here along with a curve up here to go with it, and I just don't think so. So I thought I was seeing. Sometimes our thoughts can deceive us. Almost, but no cookie. No cookie, man. You think you are so good, then you get nothing, man. That's my best Jamaican. Yo, man, up next. And I got nothing there. Nothing up my sleeve. Presto. Nada. Over to coin number 40. Now, coin number 40. Mr. Worley. And Mr. Worley comes away with... That's one of our... No, it is not. This is a different RPM altogether. This has got nice splits on both serifs. Plus, it appears it has a stick running through the middle of the mint mark. I don't mind, Jesse. Thank you for letting me know. Yep, it's a double split serif. This one appears to be a different die than the ones we've seen so far. Plenty of markers on the obverse. That scratch next to the E, scratch next to the R, scratches coming into the forehead and the nose and the chin. Over here we got scratches all over Liberty. Lots of east and west die scratches running all over the obverse. If you run into this particular die again, you're going to see all those same markers, most likely. Yeah, looky there. Bunch of markers all over the reverse, too. These are all, however, temporary markers, because temporary markers do wear away eventually. I mean, not necessarily all of them will, but you can't at all be certain that they won't. Only die cracks, chips, breaks, things that are actually broken pieces of die will definitely come through all the time. Another split lower serif. It's another RPM. This one from Malcolm. It's going to be our first die for the roll. There's number 42. Paul? What does Paul come out with? Oh, he gets one of our split lower serifs with the big cavity out to the right. So, let's see if our semicolon is here. Well, it is. You can see it right there and right there. So our semicolon is out there. And so that is how die markers work for sure. Markers work to help you determine that two coins were struck by the same die. You remember markers as you're going through the roll of coins. If it's an original roll of coins, you'll run into something else that looks very similar, and you can compare the markers to be sure they came from the same die. Now, dies individually are catalogable because every one of them is unique and different. They can be compared to one another, and we can list them with what's called a die number as they're discovered. That specifically means if we have 36 different repunch mint marks listed for a given issue. We go through a roll for that issue, and we find one that has never been listed, so there's our double split serif again. We find another one that's never been issued, we don't know about it yet. It would be die number 37. That's all that means, nothing more than that. It's not necessarily that the stronger ones are earlier, but when we started looking for repunch mint marks, we didn't look very hard for them. And then as time went on, we started looking harder and harder for them. So, as we started looking harder and harder for them, the higher numbers tend to be weaker, less strength to them. This is not an RPM at all. Looks like not a double die either. Now we move on to Mr. Fletcher again. What does Mr. Fletcher get this time? Yeah, it looks like a nothing. Those little spots are from carbon plasticizer, leaving carbon behind, blotches on the coin. Those will come off with xylene. If you know what you're doing. And nothing else on that one. Here's coin number 47. 47 goes to Mr. Malcolm. Oh, and we've got a double split serif there. Double split serif RPM. This is the one that's got the east and west die scratches everywhere. A couple of errant die scratches up here in God. You can see them running off the G. So this is that die again. Now number 48, Stanley. Well, there was another one of our second die for the day. We should look for our semicolon. We can see the little gouge next to the Y. The top of it's kind of missing, though. Yeah, so we can see the bottom half of the semicolon, but not the top. That's also common. Sometimes your smaller markers can be obliterated by other things in striking that particular coin. And then you move on to another coin, your marker shows up again. So don't get discouraged when you can't find all of the markers that you would expect to see. Looks like I got nothing going on with this one. That was for Penny Hoarder. Now number 50. Last and final coin in the roll is for Mr. Fletcher. And it is normal. What a way to end a roll. Good roll, but we ended up with a normal coin on the very end. So no out with a bang. But we do have, I'll stack all these up and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 die varieties in this roll. So 17 die varieties. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull out of this broadcast FS 801 found in the LP2 rolls I sent to you, Coin Junkie. Wow, nice. Very nice. I might open one of the rolls and see if I can come up with one of them. Yep, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out of this broadcast. I'm going to come back and I'm going to be ready for our next roll. Our next roll is, I don't have the list up, so I can't remember what the next roll is, but it's going to be reveal number 444. 444. And I think that one is a 54D, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll be back. Reveal number 444. Go look for it and get in there and wait for me, and I'll be there in just a few minutes. See you then.